All right, scholars, happy Wednesday and welcome to your lesson video for today. So today we are going to continue working on fractions with number lines. I did want to start working on something else, but just what I'm seeing on our practice and on our forms is that we just continue and to need this practice because some of us are making some mistakes, which are just showing me that hey, we need more practice, not a big deal. That's how we get better. So let's talk about yesterday's practice a little bit. So we had these two questions. If they look familiar to you, they should. We had the question about Miss Yabbitt going for a walk, and we had the question about Miss Rodriguez going for a run because she was training for tennis. These were questions that I gave you time to try by yourself, but then I also gave you the answer and showed you how I did it and showed you strategies. So really there was no reason that someone should be getting this question wrong, minus maybe making a typo here and there. But here's the thing, we not watch, but we read all of your responses. So we still give credit, even if it's a typo. If I can tell you understand, you're getting credit. Yet, even though we did that, 55% of students, that's more than half of the people who did the form yesterday, got this question wrong. And the reason that I'm kind of confused by that is I did them with you. So you had a video that showed you the answers, and we were still getting that question wrong. Now I'm going to use some ELA skills here. I'm going to use my inferencing skills to think, I have some evidence here that shows me that some friends are not watching the video. Because if 55%, if half of us are getting a question wrong that I did for you, the only way that you would not know the answer would be if you didn't watch the video. So these friends who got the question correct and answered it in the way that I answered it, these friends are going to get a bonus in Vista Virtual for hard work because they're doing their job. They're watching the videos. Some of these friends even sent me messages on Google Classroom because they were a little confused about one of them. And then I was like, oh, watch the video. And they're like, yeah, I'm still a little tricked. And I was like, oh, no biggie. Here, let me explain it this way. And that worked. So these friends, because they're doing their job, they're going to get some points in Vista Virtual. If you want to make sure that you're getting points in Vista Virtual, but also that your grade isn't being affected by not completing the practice, make sure that you're watching the video and watching the whole video. If you still have questions, that's why we have office hours. We know that office hours run from about 2:30 to 4 every day. So if you have questions in your practice, message the Google Classroom or make sure that you are coming to office hours. So because over half of us got this question wrong, I'm going to practice it again because we really need to understand how to do this. In fourth grade, we use number lines a lot. So it's super duper duper important that we know how to read a number line and how to mark it up correctly. So I'm going to do this Miss Yabbitt problem with you on my paper too, so you can know exactly the type of work that I expect you to be doing. All right, so I have my paper here. A reminder that you can be using any type of scratch paper, it doesn't matter, but we do need to be showing our work on our scratch paper. In the classroom, you would probably be getting a fine if you weren't using your scratch paper, and my friends who had really lovely scratch paper would definitely get to go on the wall of fame or maybe even getting lots of bonuses. So still continue those best practices that we use in the classroom, please. So we know we write May 13th at the top because that is today. Since we're dealing with number lines, it's okay for us not to fold it in half because we might need more space than that, and that's fine. So I see that Miss Yabbitt, it says she went for a walk. The number line below shows how many miles she walked. How many miles did Miss Yabbitt walk? So the first thing I'm immediately noticing is that my answer is going to be bigger than 1. So the most common answers, weirdly enough, were people giving me a fraction that was actually less than 1 whole or was equal to 1. So some people were giving me things like 9/12 or 6/6, something like that, which doesn't make a lot of sense because if we think about it, I know fractions can be tricky, but I just want to take a step back. if we say the answer was like 9/12 or something like that, that means we don't have a whole, because 9/12 tells me we have 9 pieces. We need 12 pieces to make one whole. But that's a little confusing to me, because if you look here, we actually have more than one whole. One whole is right here. This is what one whole is, but our point is past one whole. So we have more than one whole. So our answer needs to be bigger than one whole. And I'm actually going to remind myself by writing a little annotation to say that my answer should be greater than, and I'm going to use those alligator symbols from Friday. My answer should be greater than one whole. Now, all I'm going to do is use the same exact types of steps that we've been practicing, but I'm just going to slow it down a little bit for us just to make sure that we know what's rocking and rolling. So we know our first step to success is always to find the whole first. So we have to find where it's between 0 and 1. So I notice here that my whole, like I just already did, is right here. So I'm actually going to cover up with my hand on my computer screen. I'm going to cover up everything past one whole. That way I don't get tricked and keep counting when I shouldn't be. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to count the spaces between 0 and 1. Yesterday during my reteach, some friends were saying that they were getting a little tricked up because they were counting the lines. We need to count the spaces, because if we count the lines, we're going to get tripped up, but also because the spaces are the fraction. It's the piece that we're looking at, right? We know fractions are equal pieces. The spaces are our equal pieces in this case. So what I'm going to do is, using my hand, I'm going to cover everything up past one whole, and I'm going to count the equal spaces in one whole. I'm going to count the pieces in one whole. I see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces between one whole. So I know there are 6 pieces in one whole. So what I'm going to do is, you can either go ahead and trace it, or I'm going to show you how to recreate it. So I'm going to draw a big number line here. I'm going to put 0 here. And then I'm going to do some even spaces to myself. So I'm going to say like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces here. I'm even going to zoom in so you can see it even better. So I know my one whole goes here. And then if I'm looking at my point, I see that it is 1, 2, 3 pieces past one whole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. I know my point is right there. That's the work I'm going to put on my paper. So because I know that there are 6 equal pieces in one whole, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces between 0 and 1. I know I can label each of these spaces as a 6th, as a 6th, because there are 6 equal pieces in one whole. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move my 0 and my 1 whole up here. And I'm going to label this 0 6ths, 1 6th, 2 6ths, 3 6ths, 4 6ths, 5 6ths. Over my 1 whole, I'm going to write 6 6, because that means I have 6 pieces, and I need 6 pieces to make one whole. I'm going to keep counting 7 6, 8 6, 9 6. So I reached my point, and Miss Yabbit has walked 9/6 miles. Now I know for some friends, 9/6, you're like, okay, that looks kind of tricky to me, because I know I only need 6 pieces to make a whole, and I have more than that. So we know we can also write this answer by pulling out that whole and saying, we have 1 whole. She walked 1 whole mile and then some. And we can be specific about the then some that she walked, right? The other pieces. So we can say she walked 9/6, or here's 1 whole. So she walked 1 whole mile. And then after that, she walked 3 pieces. I know each of these pieces is a 6th. So I can say she walked 1 6th, 2 6ths, 3 6ths. So I can just count by 6 and say that she walked 1 mile and 3 6ths of another mile. So she walked 1 whole mile and then 3 pieces, but specifically we know we're good mathematicians. We know that each of those pieces is 1/6 of a mile. So she walked 1 mile and 3/6 of another mile. So those are the two answers that you're going to plug into the form for the Miss Yabbitt question. In this case, I kind of used a combination of my counting strategies, but also the modeling strategy to solve. Now let's apply that to the Miss Rodriguez problem. See if we can maybe clean up our work from yesterday. So Miss Rodriguez was training for tennis. We know that the number line below is showing us how many miles she ran while she was training yesterday. So the most common answers were, again, following the trend of either telling me that she ran less than 1 mile, or you were telling me she ran whole miles. So a lot of people either said she ran 1 mile or she ran 2 miles. Why does that not make sense? Put your finger on the dot where Miss Rodriguez stopped running. I notice my finger is not on one of the big whole numbers that's on my number line. It's actually between 2 miles and 3 miles. So I know my answer is going to be bigger than 2 miles because I'm past 2 miles. I'll just do what I did with my finger with some color so you can see. I'm past 2 miles on my number line, and then she's another piece. So my job is to figure out how much is that extra piece. I know she ran 2 miles. So I'm just going to make a note to myself. She ran 2 miles and this other piece that I need to figure out. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to follow the same steps. I'm going to figure out how much are each of these pieces on the number line. So I'm going to find 0 and 1 with my hand. I'm going to cover past 1. So I only count the spaces in one whole. And I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. So all I did with my pen was I came in here and I counted 1, 2, 3, 4. So because there are 4 spaces between 0 and 1, there are 4 spaces in one whole mile in this case. I know each of those spaces is worth 1/4. So this is 1/4, this is 1/4, this is 1/4 of a mile, this is 1/4 of a mile, so on, so forth. Each of these spaces are 1/4 of a mile. That's how much they are. So I know that if I'm thinking about this like a smart mathematician, like all of you are, I know that this extra space she runs 2 miles and 1 piece. I just found out that each piece is 1/4. So I can think to myself, okay, so she ran 2 miles and then 1/4 of another mile. Now, the way I'm going to check my work, because obviously I haven't recreated a number line or anything like that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just draw the number line and then I'm going to count in fourths to double check. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to quick and fast. It doesn't need to be perfect. I see 0. I know there are 4 spaces until the 1 whole. So I'm going to go 0, 1, 2, 3. Here's my 1 whole. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's my second whole. And then I know that she is 1 piece past that. I'm going to put my dot there. So I can think to myself, I'm counting by fourths. So I'm just going to count and say 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. 4/4 is 1 whole. 4/4 is good. So I'm just going to make a quick mark of that. 4/4. 5/4, 6/4, 7/4, 8/4. I know 8/4 is the same thing as 2 wholes because that would be like saying, okay, I need 4 pieces to make 1 whole. I have 8 pieces. So that means I can make 2 wholes. And then I know that I need to jump 1 more fourth. So it is Miss Rodriguez ran 9/4 if we were going to do it with just in fractional form without breaking it apart into the wholes. So we can say that she ran 9/4, or we can also think about it in our model way, right? Here's 1 whole mile. There's 1 whole fraction strip. Here's our second whole mile. Here's 2 whole fraction strips. I'm going to label them 1 hole, 2 holes. And then I know that I have 1 piece. That extra piece, I'm going to just bring it over here. That's 1/4 of a mile, that extra piece. So I can think she ran 2 whole miles and then 1 piece of another mile. That 1 piece is just 1/4. So 2 miles and 1/4 of another mile. So first we did it by just looking at our number line here where I first wrote the answer and seeing that, oh, so I know my answer is going to be greater than 2 because I see that the point is past 2. Here is 2 whole miles. I need to figure out what 1 piece is worth. So I counted 1 piece is worth. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces in a hole. So 1 piece is 1/4. So she ran 2 and 1 piece. She ran 2 miles and 1/4 of another mile. So now we're going to practice this again with our steps to success. As a reminder, this is just what I just did as you were following along. This is what you were doing. Find the hole with your hand, cover up past 1. Find the denominator, your hand is still there. You are counting the spaces until you hit your finger, until you hit 1. That is the name of each piece. That is the name of each. That is the name of each. That is the name of each piece. Then you are just counting by that piece until we get to the point. So you would count, and you would count, like, for example, there we go, Ms. Rodriguez, we would count 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 5/4, 6/4, 7/4, 8/4, 9/4. Or if you want to think about it in terms of the whole miles that are in 9/4, you can think about it as, okay, I'm moving across my number line. Have I hit my point yet? No. Okay, I've gone 1 mile. Moving across the number line. Have I hit my point yet? No. Okay, I've gone 2 miles, 2 whole miles. And then I've gone 1 piece. I know that piece is 1/4. So she ran 2 and 1/4 miles. So let's go ahead and apply that because it's practice time. So I want to know how much of 1 yard did Buffy jump to get her toy? So on this number line, you see my adorable little cat, Buffy, and she can jump really far. I want to know how much of 1 yard, if you want to know how long a yard is, it's the size of a behavior stick. How far did she jump in order to get her toy when she was playing? So I want you to try this one by yourself using these steps to success. Find the hole between 0 and 1. Count or draw the spaces between 0 and 1 to find the denominator. Then you're going to count the spaces or shade the spaces if you are drawing a model until the point to find the numerator, and then you're going to double check. So I'm going to give you about 1 minute to try to solve this one on your own. Already using those steps, 1 minute, here you go. Okay, you have 30 more seconds. Okie dokes, that was about a minute. If you need some extra time, go ahead and pause the video because I'm about to show you the answer for this question. That means none of us should be getting it wrong on the form because we have Miss Cupp here showing you exactly how she might solve it in one strategy. So I'm going to do the modeling strategy for this way because that seemed to be the one that a lot of people liked to use, although apparently more people liked the counting strategy, but it was very, very close when I asked. So for the modeling strategy here, what I'm going to do is we know it still involves counting. So I'm going to count how many pieces need to be in one hole. So first I'm going to find the hole between 0 and 1. Here is 0. Here is 1. Did step 1. Now I know I need to count the spaces between 0 and 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 spaces. So I'm going to draw my fraction bar. I'm going to split it into 5 spaces. As pretty equal as I can, right? Now I know what I can do now is just draw a number line underneath, line these up. Here is 0. Here is 1 whole. Boom, 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 boom. Now I have my perfect little number line right underneath. So now I need to count the spaces, which I just did, and I know that these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so each of these are a fifth. So this is 1/5, this is 1/5, this space is 1/5, they're all 1/5. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that in the denominator for my eventual answer. I can also go ahead and put that in the denominator for each of these pieces or on my number line. It's up to you. I'm showing you all the options. You don't have to do all the options. You can pick whichever one works for you. Now I see that Buffy, okay, we did that step. Now I see that Buffy is, let's see, 1, 2, 3. So she's right here. She is on the 3rd tick mark after 0. So I'm going to shade in 3 pieces. So I know this is 1/5, 2/5, 3/5 because she is right here. So apparently Buffy jumped, if I come down, 3/5 of 1 yard or 3/5 of the distance between 0 and 1. So my answer here is 3/5 of a yard. That is how far Buffy jumped. To double check it with the counting strategy, again, we count for our denominator, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 pieces. I'm going to count 1/5, 2/5, 3/5. This point is 3/5 because there are 5 spaces between 0 and 1. All right, let's try it again with our good friend, but not Buffy's good friend because unfortunately they don't get along, Mac, my sister's dog. So we were letting Mac out the other day and he kind of got off the leash and he went for a little bit of a run before we were able to catch him because he stopped because he got tired. I want to know, how many miles did Mac run before he stopped? So you're going to follow the same procedure, the same steps. Find your hole between 0 and 1. Use your hand, cover up past the hole, because in this case, I noticed there is 1 hole, 2 holes, 3 whole miles on my number line. Then find your denominator, then find where he actually is. There are 2 different ways to write this answer. Because this one's a little bit more complicado, I'm going to give you about a little over a minute to solve this one. All right, ready? Go. Alrighty, so I did give us some extra time there since this one was greater than 0. So I just did it on a separate piece of paper because I unfortunately ran out of space on mine. So this was how I solved the problem with math. So I followed the steps. First, I found my hole. I noticed that there was 4 pieces in one hole. That's why you can see there are little 1, 2, 3, 4. There were 4 pieces in one hole. So I knew that I was counting by fourths. So what I did, these little jumps, I counted 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. I made a little note of 4/4 to make sure that I knew I was past one hole. 5/4, 6/4. So he ran 6/4 miles, or I wanted to think about it in terms of how many whole miles he ran. So I drew my 1 whole fraction bar that he had. Then I went ahead and I drew another whole fraction bar. I split it into the 4 pieces I know go into one hole because there are 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces between 0 and 1. And I knew that he ran an extra 2 pieces. I shaded in 2 pieces, but I thought about those not as pieces, but I thought about them as fourths because they are fourths of a mile. So Mac ran 1 2/4 miles, or he ran 1 whole mile and 2/4 of another mile. If you are somebody who's thinking 2/4 is also equal to 1/2, you are correct. So you can also think about this as 1 1/2 of a mile. Whatever floats your boat. We will get into equivalency, which is that what I just did, a little bit more tomorrow. So if that didn't make any sense to you, no worries, we're going to go over it. All right, my friends. So now let's get into our word of the day as a brain break. So our word of the day is actually elephant, because I think elephants are really fun creatures. And weirdly enough, when I asked you about your favorite animal, no one said elephant. But I think they're just really fun. So actually, as our word of the day, we're going to do a bit of a brain break. I know these can be kind of tough and we just need a brain break, and that's totally fine. So I'm actually going to do it with you as a brain break because I even need some too. All right, so you're going to draw what she is drawing. Or you don't really know. So it looks like a little swoop. It's probably going to be the elephant's nose. I'm correcting my hands in life will go on. Bigger sort of half circle. It looks like for his ear, maybe. Connect it up. Pop his body. So a little like half circle there. Around. Oh, here, they're coming back over here. Gotta draw the rest of his body. Of course, he needs eyes to see. And there's okay. So that's our quick little brain break. Of course, that artist is signing the names. I'm going to go ahead and sign my name too. All right. So now you know how to draw a cute little elephant in some pretty simple line steps. Nice. All right. Back to work. So I actually want you guys to be practicing with number lines. And instead of having you just continue doing practice problems, I found this really fun game that I want you guys to practice. So in your form, you'll notice there's actually going to be another section before you hit your independent practice where we're going to practice using a puzzle. So you're actually going to have puzzle pieces. I'll show you. So once you type in the answers that we did all together in here, so remember, I gave you the answers. There's no reason we are getting these questions wrong. So I want you to do the 2 different answers that there could be. So as a reminder, this was here and here. How far did Miss Rodriguez run? You know the answer to that, so go ahead and rock and roll. How much of 1 yard did Buffy jump? We know that Buffy jumped. You come back, you look at your answer. She jumped 3/5. Type that in. How many miles did Mac run before he stopped? You can either type in the 6/4 or the 1 2/4, whichever is up to you. I'm going to type in the 1 and 2/4. All right, so you're going to come to this section. And you're going to see it says click on the link right here. And it's going to take you to this game. It's really fun. It says give your brain a workout. So what you're going to do is it gives you these pictures, and you have to drag the picture to the number line that matches this fraction. So I see the fraction right here. It says I need to find a number line that matches 2 8s. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a number line that has 8 pieces in between 0 and 1. So obviously it's not going to be this one because I can see that there's pretty big pieces. I'm going to try, let's try this one. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I checked my denominator, got it. Now I know that it needs to move 2 spaces on the number line. Does it jump? 1, 8, 2, 8. Why, yes, it does. So I get to move this piece to here. I got it correct, so it fit in. So now I need to find 3/3 on the number line. So first thing that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna look for something broken up into 3 pieces. So I see, oh, right here, this is 1, 2, 3 pieces, matched my denominator. Super excited, yeah, cool, works. I'm gonna drag it over here. Uh-oh, that wasn't correct. So it's actually gonna make that red to show me like, ooh, that is not 3/3, and it's gonna give me another one to try. So I'll have to come back and find what puzzle piece comes there. So then what you're gonna do is you're gonna solve this. So you would go through, you would figure out what animal is gonna be in here. And then when you come back to your form, so you'll notice it opened another tab. So you'll come back to the form right here, and you're gonna describe the type of animal or whatever picture popped up when you finished your puzzle. Okay? So as you can see, you do have to do this in order to get to the independent practice. So once you type in whatever animal you think it is, you will get taken to your independent practice page. I put the steps to success as a picture right here to help you remind yourself these are the things that we need to be doing in order to correctly solve these questions. So there will be 4 number line questions. They involve some cartoon characters you might recognize. And then there are a couple review questions, and that's your independent practice. If any of these are a little bit confusing to you, please come to office hours or send me a message. All right, my friends, happy solving.